What's going on, Dan K Show fans? It's Dan K night, Thursday night. We've talked to you. We've asked you, what are you clamoring for? What do you need to know about? We've got it all contabulated, compiled, and contrasted and compared. All the C words, we've got them all for you on the Dan K Show this week. Stay tuned. More coming at you now. Alrighty, here we go. It's Dan K time. It's a Dan K show, and it is time for Dan K's three things. Thing number one, while we were sunning it up in sunshiny Florida, the Midwest continued to be in flux. It's the Midwest mess, I'm going to call it at this point, and we've got to talk about it on this week's show. We are doing an exclusive, deep, dirty dive into the Midwest to figure out what's going on out there, who's the best team, and who's going to win that darn title. That's what we got coming up there. Thing number two, the monarchy reigns as something is brewing in New Hampshire at the NCDC level. I called him out and said, well, we called him out and said on the show, man, it would be pretty big if right before the break the Monarchs went out there and swept the Bruins back-to-back games, and guess what they did? They swept the Bruins in back-to-back games, and they chirped us on Twitter hard about it. They're in third place in the NCDC standings. That's a big one there. Thing number three, big upset wins in Florida this week, and that's where we start the show. Big upset wins. How about the Tampa Bay Juniors Elite, Lucas, beating the Charlotte Rush there? A big-time upset against the Charlotte Rush. That's a game that comes out of nowhere for maybe Dan K, but I don't think for Lucas J. How did you feel about the Charlotte Rush coming into this one? The Tampa Bay Juniors coming into this one?
Victorious, vindicated. I think all the V words.
Yeah.
It feels pretty good when you're right, folks. It's not something that happens often, but when it does happen, I think that makes it even sweeter. Because I had the Tampa Bay Juniors pretty high up on my power rankings. Dan, how high did I have them?
You had them at 4. You had the Charlotte Rush at 5. I argued with Lucas that Tampa Bay should have been towards the 6 or 7 slot. They ended up in the 7 slot because Dan K won that battle. If you want to ask anything about me, I'm good at debating. Good at debating. I can debate. You know, that's the way you debate is what they say about me. And I went out there and I debated this one with Lucas, and I was able to win that debate at the time. But then Tampa Bay Juniors come back out, and how about that win against the Charlotte Rush? Just how big was that one, Lucas?
You know, it's huge. You know, it's your direct competitor, basically, in terms of skill level. Standings, skill, stats, and to go head-to-head against a team like the Charlotte Rush, especially when you're so evenly matched as organizations, goes to show you that not only can you beat them, but you have the kind of the fortitude to match up against a team like that and really stick it to them. And that's not a team that goes down easy.
Yeah, that's back-to-back wins for them to end off their tournament there at home, their showcase. They started off slow with 2 losses, but finish the USPHL's Florida Showcase 2-2. And anytime you're 500 and better at a showcase in the USPHL, you leave that thing happy. Atlanta Junior Kings and Charlotte Rush fall to the Tampa Bay Juniors as this thing closes out. And that's a Kings team that absolutely impressed us earlier in the tournament there on Thursday night. On Thursday afternoon, we got a chance to call one of their games, and they were splendid. I wanted to call one of their elite games so bad, I climbed up into a scaffolding to go see the thing. And, I mean, this is going to be a Tampa Bay Juniors team that all season long you're going to hear from them. They have guys who can score in bunches. Let's go to another upset that may or may not have happened, Lucas, over the weekend here. May have happened in Tampa again. How about the Richmond Generals taking down the beasts from the Southeast, the Hampton Roads Whalers? This team in Hampton Roads loses to nobody, and they drop one of the Richmond Generals.
Yeah, well, we said it's funny because when the Hampton Roads Whalers lost their first game that week on the show, I had put them as #NeverLost, and then they lost a game. Then on this week's show, I put a lower third that says, if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man.
Yep.
And that is exactly what happened. So to the Hampton Roads Whalers, I promise to never make another lower third about you guys again. Because apparently, that is the curse of Lucas J. I think they already don't like me. I think this has maybe put the nail in the coffin.
Lucas, I can guarantee you that everyone loves you, man. We love you. What would we do with this show without you, man? This is basically the Lucas J show if you take into account the amount of stuff we do compared to just the FaceTime at Dan K. It eventually equals out to the Lucas side of it, but I mean, if you look at this Generals team, man, the premier victory for them, they went 2-1 in a shootout. What a win for the Richmond Generals. You can see that last save on the Richmond Generals Twitter page from Aiden Richardson, who gets the win in net. Big time save. Stephen Owens with the game winner. With that, I think it's time to go talk about a little hockey in the Midwest. A little Midwest hockey. We're going to do a big time deep dive into all the Midwest mess and try to figure this thing out and sort out just where do we keep going wrong in the power rankings.
Folks, there's still time to vote for your favorite team in the Holiday Follower Challenge. Just tweet to us or send us your vote on Instagram or Facebook to get your vote counted, and we'll announce the results in 2019.
We are back, and it is time to talk Midwest mess and talk about this the standings in the Midwest, Lucas. I want to start first there, because every time you think you have a grasp on what the standings are and who's at the top, who's at the bottom, you tend to switch around, swap up, and everyone goes out there and beats each other. So let's start in the Midwest West and then go to the Midwest East. Can you take us first through a run of the standings in the Midwest? Go.
So 1 and 2 tied with 36 points apiece. You have the Havoc and the Moose. The Moose, I played 3 more games than the Havoc, but I think this early in the season it doesn't quite matter as much. It'll matter more as we get closer to the end of the season. Then you go down to 3rd and 4th, tied with 29 points each, are the Wisconsin Rapids River Kings and the Rum River Mallards. These guys have played a more even matchup of games, so again, it's still very close. They're obviously tied up there. Then you go to 5th, 6th, and 7th. Minnesota Mullets at 5 with 28 points. Minnesota Blue Ox at 6th place with 27 points. Dells Ducks with 25 points. Again, another tight grouping. So you've got a grouping at 1 and 2, grouping at 3 and 4, grouping at 5, 6, 7.
And let me stop you there, because you look at this Blue Ox team. This is a team that was as high as 2nd a week and a half ago when we did the power rankings for the USPHL Premier. And it's a team that we put at 8 in our power rankings because they were playing on the upswing. It's a team that Scott Sturgeon, who I think is an absolute expert on Midwest hockey, who's out there watching every game he can for us. It's a team that Scott Sturgeon called out as his best team right now in the USPHL's Premier Midwest West or East Division, in both of the Midwest divisions. And they come out here and they get beat up by a couple teams, and then the Dells Ducks go in there. The Ducks beat them 5-4, and on the same weekend that they get swept in 2 games by the Mullets. It's an absolutely insane division right now. It's a division that you can't wrap your head around. There's no way for you to sit here and tell me who the best team is, and when you do that to me, I got to look at points and games in hand. The Hudson Havoc have the points. They have 36, tied with the Moose at 36, but they got 3 games in hand on the Moose. And as many times as we keep looking at the Havoc and saying maybe they're not the best team out there in the Midwest West, if it walks like a duck, it talks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, and yes, ducks both quack and talk. I've talked to a few of them. I've painted the duck blue because I've never seen a blue duck, and I wanted to see a blue duck. But as long as that duck's that way, that's a duck, man. And the Hudson Havoc are the team that, as much as the Havoc reigns in the Midwest West, the Havoc are reigning at the top of the standings for us right now. And it's showing it that way, Lucas.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and then if you want to talk about an issue with having the Havoc as the top team, you look at the offense that the Minnesota Moose are putting up, and in a defensive-minded division, if you can score that many goals and be head and shoulders above the rest of the division with offense, that seems like a more longevity-style pick.
But when you look at the point leader out there in the Midwest, and you look at a guy like Nate Holm, who's playing for the Minnesota Mullets, a guy who we got a chance to do a broadcast for, that's where you say, yes, the team scoring is there for the Minnesota Moose, but what happens in the postseason? Goaltenders stand on their heads, and the best shine, and you need the best to shine in the biggest moments. And that diamond right now out there is Nate Holm from the Minnesota Mullets. What do the Mullets do for us? They go out there and they sweep the Ducks, a team of the Ducks that we thought was higher up in our standings than the Mullets. It's absolute bedlam in the Midwest West right now, and if you're not watching along with it, you're out of your darn mind. And you go to the Midwest East, and you see Kyle Bench from Motor City. This kid's got 16, 22, and 38. He's playing for a guy named Jason McCrimmon, who I want to talk about right now. I want to talk about Jason McCrimmon because Jason McCrimmon just got named one of the top 40, under 40 in the entire game of hockey. That's with NHL executives. That's with absolutely anybody in the game of hockey, coaches, executives, players, anybody in the game of hockey. Even the Dan K show's in the running. We're both under 40. How are we not in it? Top 27 weird hockey guys doing their own show under 27. Put Dan K on that one. That's a pretty good deal to have right there. But I mean, Jason McCrimmon, talk about the work he's doing with this Motor City team, who are the only team in the Midwest who have so far said, we are the best in our spot.
Yeah, you know, it definitely starts from the top. We always say that, right? It starts from the coach, and the Midwest East Motor City Hockey Club is at #1 with 36 points. They're 18-8, and you know I'm not always an offense guy, but I got to give it up to someone who can score 110 goals, can lead his team to score 110 goals while still shutting down defensively with the second best defense in that division, only giving up 71. They're putting streaks together.
Yep.
They're beating teams that are at their skill level, above their skill level. They're doing it all out there in the Midwest East, and they have taken a lead over the Chicago Cougars and Midwest Blackbirds. Chicago Cougars at 28 points, Blackbirds at 24. I mean, Jason McCrimmon deserves that spot on that list because of what he has done with this Motor City Hockey Club team.
And how about his netminder, Brendan Gutenkunst there, who's got 11-1 record, a 1.60 goals against, and a 9.39. And that comes from, you know, good players like to play for good coaches and good guys. And Jason McCrimmon's a beauty out there in the Midwest East, man. And you want to know why he's top 40 under 40? Because he's a guy who's bringing a new look to a game that needs new looks, right? We need new looks in this game. We need the ability to look at the game from a young angle, from that youthful angle. We need to have a guy who can absolutely, he connects with his guys. You can tell his guys feel comfortable playing for Jason McCrimmon. They feel like they're dealing with a guy who believes in them and they can believe in him. And when I got a chance to be out there in Detroit 2 years ago, the work that organization was doing, not just with their team, but in the community with the Detroit Ice Streams group there, I mean, it was absolutely breathtaking to see somebody with such a great eye for talent and also for a future in the game of hockey. And this guy's trying to bring hockey to a place that loves it, but needs more of it and needs more accessibility to it. He makes the game accessible for kids who would never have access to it. Here's to you, Jason McCrimmon, man. A toast to Jason McCrimmon and what he's doing out there with the Motor City Hawks, man. The Motor City Hockey Club has absolutely turned this thing into a real success story this year.
Yeah, no, 110%, like I said, absolutely deserves that spot, and I think both of us are looking forward to what the next few years are going to bring.
We really are, and we keep going through it, man. You look at the weekend, the Chicago Cougars sweep the Decatur Blaze, and if you want to talk about the team out there, I love the Blaze, I love the Midwest Blackbirds in the sense of they play an exciting game, man. These guys put the puck in the back of the net, they score it in bunches. You see guys like TJ Dugan out there with the Decatur Blaze, and they get the job done. But when you look at the full team right now, I think the Cougars are the team that could make a run at Motor City. I think the Cougars are a team that could bother Motor City. I will tell you, if you want to know my upset special, a team that makes the Nationals out of Midwest East as an upset, pay attention to Dan Kay in a few weeks when we do our guesses on that and he says the Decatur Blaze, because that's a fun team.
Yeah, they really are a fun team, you know, and that Midwest East is something to watch out for. I honestly think and can see the Cougars being trouble late in the season for teams trying to climb the ladder. You know, they're a tough team to get past sometimes, and when that defense is working, they got the best defense in that Midwest East division. When that defense is working, they are a real tough team to beat.
And you want to look at the Cougars a little deeper, man. I want to go look at their schedule right now. I'm going to do this thing live on the show, Lucas. And when you look at the Chicago Cougars schedule going forward, I got to get into the right division first, Lucas. That would be helpful. This is what happens when you navigate the internet live on a show. But the Chicago Cougars have 4 games in hand on a Motor City Hockey Club there. They got 4 games in hand. That's a huge number of games. Why is that an important number of games? Because they're 8 points back. What does that mean, Lucas? Do the math. 2 points a win, 4 games in hand. That means they win all 4 of those games in hand. You got to tie at the top. Tie at the top. So they are still in this thing. Coming up, they've got the Havoc, though. Game 1 of the Midwest Showcase coming up, and that's the next thing on our show, talking the USPHL's Midwest Showcase. We got our Midwest Showcase for December here coming up. Going to have some really fun matchups, and the Cougars are going to have a real tough road of it. Look at this road. They're going to have to play the Havoc. They're going to play the Castlin Vipers, the Minnesota Moose and the Blue Hawks in a 4-day span. Very tough matchups for them.
Yeah, that is not really a schedule you want unless you're a team out there with something to prove, and I think the Cougars are exactly that type of team.
Oh, well, Brad Stofers, man, this is a guy who's not afraid of any challenge. This guy's I mean, I've watched this guy take things on like he's a fighter pilot with like a guy behind him with a beautiful mustache, racing through, wearing aviators, battling people, right? I've seen this guy. He's so good, you should make a sequel to him that comes out 20 years later after he does his big thing. That's how good this guy is. He's our top gun man behind the bench, and he's a real maverick for the Chicago Cougars team. So he'll try to find a way to navigate this the way he does his planes.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if they go, if they hit like Mach 6 later in the season and just kind of fly right past everybody. You know, teams are going to be launching cruise missiles at him. They're going to be locked on target, but this guy has the maneuverability to escape it all.
Brad Stofers looks like Maverick from Top Gun, Tom Cruise. Keep an eye on that guy. Anybody who looks like Tom Cruise, I can totally root for. Good for him there. But again, Havoc, Vipers, Moose, Blue Hawks, you'd be ecstatic to get out of that 4-game schedule with 3 points. 3. You would be absolutely floored and enthralled to get out of that schedule with 3 points. That's not at any attack at the Cougars. That is an absolute just compliment to the teams that they're going to have to play out there. This Midwest Showcase, Lucas, just how big is this going to factor in to our Premier Power Rankings coming up?
Well, I think it's not just points, right? Because clearly we've already had some trouble dealing with the Midwest in terms of just having points, right?
Yeah.
So what this is going to provide is a look to durability. It's going to provide us a look at the conditioning of these teams because we know how tough these showcases are. And the mental toughness, which I think can sometimes be overlooked because, I mean, how can you look at it except to throw yourself into the fire, into this Midwest division, and see who comes out on top?
And it's going to be an absolute fire out there, man. You are just going to set fire, and it's going to be non-stop action. You're going to hope the ice doesn't melt out there with how fast these guys are going to be moving. There's going to be some big moves up and down the standings this weekend. I can guarantee you top-notch hockey. The Midwest is where it's at this weekend. It is all Midwest. A lot of these teams are getting ready for their winter breaks right now. Their holiday breaks are kicking off. This Midwest division, no break in the action. They're ready to go, and we are ready to be watching. We'll have some more Dan K Dailies coming up this week as I break down some of the matchups I want to see. Lucas will look at some as well, and we have a ton coming at you, a ton coming your way. The only thing we have left to do here, I think we're going to throw to an interview.
What's going on, hockey fans? Dan K Show here in Tampa, Florida, and every once in a while, you get to meet one of your heroes, and this is one of my heroes in the game of hockey here. My man Wyatt, Hockey Wyatt on Instagram. You got to go give this guy a follow. This thing is incredible. The people he meets, he's bigger than me. He's bigger than me. I wear the crazy pants, but this guy gets the stories. This guy gets the deep down, juicy details from the guys throughout the NHL. Wyatt, how's it going, man?
Good, you?
I'm doing well. Let me ask you here. Let me ask you a little bit about how you got started with working with the NHL and being a broadcaster. How'd that get started for you?
Well, I was at a hockey camp down here in Florida called Lightning Made, and JT Brown, a former player for the Tampa Bay Lightning, came, and there's a lot of news coverage there, and out of random, they picked me to be interviewed. 3 other news channels saw my interview and liked it, so they wanted to do it.
Yeah.
3 of the 4 of them went on live, and the Lightning picked me up, asked me if I wanted to do locker room interviews, and the NHL picked me up, and it's gone on from there to Hockey Night in Canada, the All-Star Game.
This guy has been all over the world. If you haven't checked out Hockey Wyatt, you got to see this kid. He writes for the Florida Hockey Life magazine here, and the articles are pristine. I can't even write that well. That's why I talk for a living in front of the camera. Writing's tough. How did you get into this writing craze? How did you start this journalism trail?
Well, Florida Hockey Life just picked me up, and, well, they looked at me and they wrote an article about me first.
Yeah.
And after that, all of a sudden they asked me to write an article. I didn't know what story I was going to write about, but at that time it was over the summer and we were going to Toronto. So they asked me to cover the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And it was kind of out of nowhere, but I just wrote the Hockey Hall of Fame article and I've been doing that journalism trail ever since.
First of all, how Ellen DeGeneres hasn't found you yet and made you the Ellen DeGeneres show where she finds these young guys with such talent, and you have such a talent for this. Where'd your love of hockey come from? How'd you find this love of hockey?
Well, it actually was a humble start. We were in Georgia, and we have a cabin in Georgia, and there was an outdoor hockey rink, probably as big, about 8 feet wide length, and I just threw on some rental skates, skated around, and I was flying out there. I think I only fell twice my first ever time I skated. And I asked my dad, is there a sport for this? Hockey or figure skating? So I looked into hockey and I decided I wanted to be a hockey player, and I took lessons when I was 4. When I was in Georgia, I was 3. And I've kept on following that trail ever since.
The game of hockey, it's amazing how it finds people. I mean, the hotbed of hockey in Georgia there. I mean, sometimes hockey finds you in the weirdest place. I know we were talking to your dad off camera, and he said he didn't even start playing a game until he was 41. It's great to see what hockey does, folks. It gets into your family. It's a top-down system here. You have to have grandparents involved, parents involved. It's a full support system, and it's kids like Wyatt who are absolutely the future of the game of hockey. And let me talk about Lucas over here. This is always, in every broadcast duo, there's a John Madden and a Pat Summerall. This is my Pat Summerall. This is the guy who keeps me grounded. He's the guy who doesn't let me get too big-headed. And you always need somebody working with you in these broadcasts. Lucas, I know you had a few questions for Wyatt here. What do you want to talk to Wyatt about?
Yeah, so, I mean, Dan and I, when we do our broadcasts, Dan is always the guy who's all about offense. If the game is 10-9, he's happy. I like defense. We had a game yesterday, it was 1-0, and I love watching those games. Do you have a preference for offensive games or defensive games?
I think offensive games are more, you need to skate hard, fast, and that defense back there, you can rush and put an offense out there for defense. If you're going to play against a team that's a defensive team, you're going to want to do that. And a defensive game is when you have a team like the Tampa Bay Lightning. Obviously, we have strong defense, but forward is rock solid. You always want to play a defensive game with probably Coburn. If I was talking about the Lightning, Coburn can play a good offense. Put Coburn on the forward, put your 2 best defensemen on D, and play a defensive game. And like how you were saying the last game was, just be 1-0. As long as you come out on top, still win, still 2 points, still moving up on the leaderboard.
In case everyone's watching from the USPHL League office, I'm pretty sure I just lost my job with that breakdown. That's incredible. Yeah, Lucas asked me questions like that, and I say goal scoring. That's as simple as my answer is. And what I want to talk to you about, because you're not just a broadcaster. You're playing it on the ice, you know what I mean? And I don't see Doc Emmerich out there skating around with all the work he's doing, but you're Doc with skates on. I heard you had some pretty big games recently, an 8-goal, 2-assist weekend. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, it's true. I scored 5 goals and 2 assists in a 7-point scoring, and then I scored 3 of the 4 goals we scored on the championship game. We ended up losing that, but
this guy, you got to check it out, folks. Again, Hockey Wyatt on Instagram there. You go check him out. This guy's meeting everybody in the NHL. He's working at the All-Star Games, meeting the Hockey Hall of Famers. He's all over the world right now. And one thing I think that you are maybe even unknowingly an advocate for is young people in the game of hockey. And hockey's a sport that without the youth game, without that early development in your life, right, it's tough to get into it. It's a difficult sport to learn. It takes a lot of work. Talk to me, why should someone your age pick up a hockey stick, put on a pair of skates, and go try out this game?
Well, number one, it's better than lounging on your couch and playing Fortnite or something that's not even eligible.
Tell that to the NHLers you meet as well, because they tend to do it too.
Yeah, I noticed that. Somebody around 23 years old said, yeah, I played Fortnite, and I knew it had been just released. Yeah. And I said, please tell me you played that when you were a kid. And he said, around 1920. I don't even play that.
No, you got to be active.
You'd rather put on the skates, you lose a couple of pounds, go on, have fun, meet new people, get new friends, and who knows, you could end up in the NHL someday.
That's right, and you can also learn a lot of discipline, and that's something I can't wait to see where your hockey future takes you here. My final question for you before I let you go, this man's got his birthday party. He's got his birthday party today. He took time out of his day. You want to talk about beauties in the game of hockey? This young man takes time out of his day to talk to us when he's got a birthday party to be at. Final question for you. I know it's going to be a tough question because you're a great broadcaster, great hockey player. What is the goal in your hockey career? Do you want to play first, broadcast later, or you just want to do it all?
Well, obviously, if I broadcast it first and did that till I was 50, I would not make it to the NHL. So what I would do, hey, Yager, you're still good. But what I would do is play hockey around 40, late 30s, early 40s, and go and do broadcasting for the rest of my career unless I find something new. Obviously, I'm still young, can still make new decisions, but I think I'd rather be player first, broadcaster later.
This, again, one more time, Hockey Wyatt on Instagram, folks. Thank you so much, Wyatt, for taking the time with us. Happy birthday to you. Happy belated birthday. This guy's got a birthday around Thanksgiving, so he's got the big-time party going on today. Hope it's a great one. You have to follow along with this young man's future. The game of hockey is going to change it. To you young folks out there who watch the Dan K Show each and every week, the game of hockey, it's so important. Go tell your friends. Let them know. Come play with me a little bit here. Let's go find some open ice. The game of hockey grows you as a person, both on and off the ice, and you can see it here with folks like Wyatt. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back with more Dan K Show after this.
Welcome to the Empty Net, our favorite portion of every week's show, and I have to start with this video. This video has to be number one to start with. It has to be seen. I have to break it down. It's Nicholas Albrecht with the theft score celly of the century. Puck comes out to the point. Guy trying to make a little toe drag move to set this thing back up. Next thing you know, Albrecht puts the high pressure, caution to the wind, poke away, and he breaks. And how many times do we see the poke steal? You break away, and you get caught on the back check. This guy throws the afterburners on. Nifty little move. How many times do we see a guy get too close to the tendy and thrown right into the center of his pads? Nope, nifty move. Tendy goes down, hand down, man down, flip it up over the pad, score. How pretty was this?
Oh, it was great. I think I watched it the first time when Dan showed it to me. I was blown away by how great that goal was.
I'm watching it again and again and again. Now we keep moving here, Lucas. What do we have next as our next clip here?
Well, I think we have something that was sent to us by Brian Osmondson. USPHL Patience finds a goal every time.
So on this goal here, folks, you see the importance of when you don't have a move to make, don't make one. It's one of my favorite quotes from the show Boardwalk Empire that Arnold Rothstein uses to explain to some of the mob bosses from back in the time what they need to do. When you don't have a move, don't make one. It's the best move in chess as well sometimes, as Lucas may know, you know. Yes, you have to make a move, but sometimes you just throw a pawn out there and you let it go, you know. And this is a situation, you got your man sitting in the corner, Ozzie Snipes, the Wizard of Osmondson, and he realizes, man, I got time in a puck. Nobody's pressuring me here in the corner. I got to let my guy move in Sanchez, and I got to find him open. And he does. He trusts his man in front of the net, finds him with the saucy, and next thing you know, that thing's hitting netting, tickling twine.
Yeah, and the best part about that goal, Dan, I think we're gonna roll back again, is you see number 27 just kind of sneak in past all the defenders, right? Very quietly gliding, like silent.
Oh.
And he's found by the pass and gets in the net. That was great.
That's what it creates. You try to play that diamond defense in front of your net. You try to play discipline that way, and it's going to work a lot of the times. But when a lot of times as a skater, the reason why that works is because you force the early pass, right? Situation where he just waits for the right time, right place, makes it happen. One final video for the folks at home, I think, Lucas. Now this one comes from one of our favorite followers at DevilDog1, and he's bringing us some of that nice 18U PAL hockey there. The one thing about us, man, we love the 18U, 16U levels. We never get a chance to see it enough. We're always trying to get some more games. We're trying to get a more broadcast of the 18U, 16U. So when your 18U and 16U teams want us to come out and broadcast them, let us know. We want to see who's interested. We want to try to tap that out there and figure out where we need to go, where we need to find these goal scorers in the future of college and pro hockey, man. A lot of great talent at the 18U, and thanks for sharing that video.
Yeah, you know, and they win the puck off the face-off, right back to the blue line, firing a shot in, firing it low and hard, bounces off the goaltender. How many times do we talk about getting the puck back after the rebound. They collect the puck, and they're able to find a guy in the slot, put that goal, again, low and hard, just past the goaltender's pads. I mean, if you give these guys time and space, they'll score every time.
You know, folks, we've had a fun week this week. We want to thank Hockey Wyatt for meeting us this weekend. Hockey Wyatt took the time out of his day, took the time out of his birthday party day. This young man at 10 years of age heading to a birthday party. If you haven't seen the story of Hockey Wyatt yet, please follow him on all social media at Hockey Wyatt. You can follow along with his story, what he's doing, where he's covering, and just how well he's been playing on the ice. My man had an 8-goal, 2-assist performance. Not too shabby to have a forward in my life here who scores goals. That's what we're looking for. I'm looking for guys who score goals, man. This kid, Hockey Wyatt, is the real deal as a broadcaster, even more of a real deal as a player. You got to see this young man. It was not every day you get to meet your heroes, and that young man is my hero, man. Anybody who can bring hockey to the youthful people of this country, to the people of the world here, anybody who can bring hockey to people 10 and under and show them the game and get that love of the game in them, I mean, he's going to be the #1 guy to do it because he's their age. He's the one, and he talked about he doesn't have enough people to trade cards with. He loves trading NHL cards. He's only got 2 buddies who he can trade them with at school because nobody watches hockey there in his school and his class, so he's been trying to get everybody to watch hockey by giving them hockey cards. So, Wyatt, we love what you're doing. We want more Hockey Wyatt in the show. We'll be trying to work something out there. And thank you to Florida Hockey Life for being with us all weekend there in Tampa. Wayne is a great guy. It's a great publication. If you haven't read Florida Hockey Life, please do. It's easy to find, easy to get in rinks all over the country. Florida Hockey Life. Wayne, thanks so much for the weekend. Other than that, Lucas, I think the last thing we have to do is just update folks in the standings for the Holiday Follow Challenge. 5th place, Minnesota Moose. 4th place, Hudson Habit. 3rd place, Minnesota Mullets. That stayed the same. Have the top 2 changed? Monarchs, Richmond Generals. Generals at #1 still. 2 weeks left to vote. Remember, the way you vote, you follow us on Twitter, you follow us on Facebook, you follow us on Instagram. You reach out to us on each of those, either with a message, direct message, or comment, or photo comment, or tweet, any way you want. And you say, at the Dan K Show, the team you want us to see, hashtag Holiday Follow Challenge. That's the way you vote. You can vote up to 3 times. Please do it. The winner will get a broadcast day from us, and we can't wait.
Yeah, you know, we're excited to see who's going to come out on top on this one. I mean, honestly, we'd love to go out to any team in the USPHL because everywhere we go, it seems like people are excited, people love hockey, and they especially love the product on the ice.
And we love you, the Dan K Show fans. Lucas, parting words. That was an easy one. I knew it was coming. In the hopes of making this a quicker ending, I will slow myself down and take a deep breath and say, when Dan K's on the mic, it's always hockey night, and we're coming to a city near you soon. Happy holidays, folks, from the Dan K Show.
It's all about the Utes.
It's all about the
That's
Utes.
what it is.
I'm sorry. Utes?
Pardon me, Your Honor. Utes.
Oh. Now, where'd you get that suit from?
Well, you told me to show up in a suit, and this town only had 1 suit store that's closed. So I got this from a magic shop.
This has been movie references of movies that were on before any of you guys watching who play the game of hockey in the USPHL were born. My Cousin Vinny. Look it up, boys.